Battle Royales. They are everywhere. For better or for worse, I personally can't really tell at this point. In this day and age, the genre of Battle Royale truly broke into the mainstream. I mean, what can I say? The mentality of a free-for-all kill or be killed with adrenaline-pumping action and a little bit of RNG can really make the game really addicting. With that being said though, there's so many Battle Royales at this point that it can get really overwhelming to choose. Especially if you are new to gaming or just want to get into the genre but don't know where to start. But don't worry fam, I'm here for you because I'm gonna give my thoughts and opinions on 5 different Battle Royale games, but instead of just giving them a number rating like in my other reviews, I will instead put them all on a tier list. However, if you want to skip to a specific Battle Royale, there will be chapters in the video or timestamps in the description that will take you to that specific game. Also note that these reviews won't go insanely in depth because as I said earlier, I'm tackling 5 Battle Royales in this one video. With that being said, let's drop straight into this. PUBG, or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, is the game that really exploded onto the gaming scene in 2017. And while it's not the first Battle Royale, it really showed developers and companies that the genre has a very large and untapped market. And while PUBG is not the most popular Battle Royale anymore because the title goes to another game I'll mention soon, don't worry, it did its job so well in fact that it pretty much standardized how Battle Royales work. I mean, you start off in a plane or a flying thing to specific locations on a map. You pick up randomized RNG loot off the ground and you have to keep on moving into a smaller circle. You get downed by losing all of your health and you slowly die if you don't get revived. And the win condition is being the last one to live. So PUBG, for all intents and purposes, is basically the father of the modern Battle Royale and still has an active player base, unlike all of these games. But does PUBG still do a good job of distinguishing itself among other newer Battle Royale games to still warrant a try or even purchase? In some cases, yeah, but in most cases, not really. PUBG in its current state kind of suffers from old scuffed game syndrome. 2 to 3 years ago, this game was absolutely huge, with it being a hit with casual and hardcore audiences on PC. With it for the time being a super unique and fun experience despite the game's technical shortcomings. However, nowadays there are bigger publishers with bigger budgets that stole PUBG's thunder and formula, making PUBG well known but more of a niche Battle Royale as time went on. In fact, when I went and told my friends, hey, I'm going to be doing this for a video and I'm going to be buying PUBG for it, literally all of my friends said, Paul, don't do it, it's just a waste of money and probably time. Which led my expectations to be way down. Is that being really fair to PUBG? Well, kind of. PUBG is a perfectly fine and in other ways a perfectly standard shooter game. You pay $15 to $30 to get in and there are 4 maps with only 3 of the maps being playable. Vehicles are in the game and some weapons are good while others aren't. There's a store and battle pass system and the game receives a pretty modest amount of updates. What I find most interesting about PUBG though is its skill ceiling and its gunplay. Going into PUBG in 2020, it's apparent that the game has a hard to play, hard to master gameplay loop, with the game nowadays being filled with veteran players, bots, and the occasional new player. And whereas other Battle Royales today have quality of life mechanics simplifying things like communication like a very convenient ping system, PUBG instead makes players rely on communicating with the compass around the map, which is something I completely forgot existed in other Battle Royale games to be honest. And this, with other things like weapon spray and recoil, sets PUBG to not feel like any other Battle Royale. After playing PUBG for a little while, I can see why this game still has a pretty active player base, but I still have some issues with it. My biggest issue is the use of AI or bots in the game. Now, I'm not completely against having AI in a Battle Royale as long as it's implemented in a very clear way. Like in Apex, for example, you kill AI doggos in a trial to get loot, adding in some PvE. Or Fortnite's obvious fake squads that give you loot, but not an actual kill. But in PUBG, they just add in bots that look like players. It was kind of funny when I realized this because when I had my first solo game that I did really well in, where I had 8 kills, I was saying to myself, wow, these guys are actual bots. And when I looked it up, some of them probably were now, so I don't know if I was just playing well or the game felt bad for me so it tossed me a bone. Regardless, I understand the reasons why they added it in, but in my opinion, it makes my good games feel more shallow knowing the truth. There is also a common criticism with Battle Royale in general that I think especially applies to PUBG, that Video Game Donkey perfectly summarizes.
Welcome to the world of Anthem Legends. Fight for survival in a gigantic map where you will never encounter another player. Scavenge for weapons and armor for 30 minutes until you are killed by a black pixel 7,000 yards away.
And the reason why I think this clip especially applies to PUBG is because some of the maps I feel like are just way too big for 100 people. And that the game, like other battle royales, can just be like a glorified walking simulator and it can get really boring at points. Whereas other battle royales try to minimize the walking simulator part of the game as much as possible, PUBG kind of revels in it. But I understand that what I'm saying here is purely subjective, and that some people might like the more slower, more methodical gameplay loop that PUBG offers that others don't, especially in squads. With that being said though, I think PUBG is a perfectly fine battle royale, but I don't know if I can truly recommend a purchase. Other battle royale games in my opinion can do what PUBG does but better, but hey, if it looks good to you and you dig the fact that PUBG has a high skill ceiling, maybe on par or even higher than other battle royales, then I guess go for it. But if you're like me, then it's a hard pass. Alright, 1 down, 4 more to go. Let's see what the next one is. Oh, it's that one. The one that everyone likes. Yeah, if PUBG standardized the Battle Royale genre and showed its viability, then Fortnite definitely popularized it and made it mainstream. I mean, Christ, at its height, Netflix said their biggest competitor was Fortnite. One single game. And this was before Netflix lost all of their good shows. This game was huge and is still pretty dominant even after its peak. And the kids? Don't get me started with the kids. They loved the Fortnite. But how good is it? Is Fortnite awful normie garbage, or is it the second coming of Christ? And really, it's neither. It's actually pretty alright. The gameplay itself is nothing to really write home about, but rather the precedents the game set for the rest of the industry. But I'll talk about the gameplay first. The gameplay is a lot like PUBG at first look, and that's because it is a lot like PUBG. In fact, it was so similar, Bluehole Studios, who made PUBG, actually tried to sue Epic over Fortnite's similarities to it. But what makes a game like Fortnite different is that it has a lot more emphasis on building rather than aiming. More or less trying to put yourself in the best possible position in a fight, like building yourself up on the high ground. And because of that, while aiming is important, building is debatably more important. And interestingly enough, Fortnite is the only battle royale out of the 5 I'm talking about that allows you to modify the map in this way, which is pretty cool. The weapon system in this game also follows a tier system, gray being the worst and most common, and gold being the best and the rarest. Which is something that I don't personally vibe with, but I understand that the game is a lot more casual than PUBG, so having a simplified weapon system makes sense for that. The gunplay is also completely different from PUBG, and it feels like the devs sort of made an effort to make aiming easier, which is again a common thing to see in a casual game like Fortnite. I remember going from PUBG into other battle royales where my aim would be passable to good on some days, but I would normally die to people who are just better than me, to Fortnite where it's super easy to aim and a lot of players I run into are just not that good at aiming. Although my personal experience could just be a result of skill-based matchmaking. Other than that, it is the standard parachute out of a flying machine to the ground, get weapons, closing ring, and last man standing wins, with some spicy game modes thrown in there. Fortnite is also updated extremely frequently. Every week there seems to be something new, which is insane. Also, the game set pretty good examples for the rest of the industry, such as a battle pass and a store system for monetization. Even if they weren't the first ones to do this, they still popularized it. Before this, games had to do loot boxes, which were extremely unpopular back in the day, and still are by the way. Also crossplay. If it wasn't for Fortnite really pushing it out there and making it extremely mainstream, then we probably wouldn't have it like today. If you would have told me 5 years ago there would be a game that would allow you to play with friends from PC, PS4, Xbox, and mobile all at the same time, I would probably think that you were lying. Even though Fortnite is not my cup of tea, I understand why some people really like it. I'll admit, some of the issues I have with the game are pretty subjective. For example, I don't really like the aiming in this game. And I'm not really a big fan of building. Like, I understand that it is literally half of your tool set in this game and is the only thing that makes Fortnite well, Fortnite, I'd much rather play a game that is more about aiming and fast reactions, once again, personal preference. Another issue I have isn't only with Fortnite, but with other Battle Royale games that only have one map. And while I understand that it makes complete sense to stick with one map because it means fewer bugs and balancing is a lot easier, but this can definitely get into a situation where if you don't like a newly updated map at the beginning of a season, then you're sort of out of luck. Add into the fact Epic tend to add in game-breaking things from time to time just to test their player base's patience, and I'm not surprised hardcore players think this game is dead. But I guess that's what happens with all games after like 2 years on the market. If you couldn't already tell, the game is just not really for me, but it's still a solid entry and a good place to start for any newcomer to the genre, especially if you want to see what the hype is about. And Fortnite, like the rest of the Battle Royales on this list, is also free to play, so try it out if you're interested. Alright, with that being said, let's go on to Apex. Apex Legends, a game released in early 2019 by Respawn Entertainment that caught fire for like a month and then kind of disappeared out of relevancy. Out of all of the Battle Royale games I'll be talking about, this is probably the one that I spent the most time on by far. And Apex in general helped more or less shake up the genre. The game looks like another standard Battle Royale on the surface. You drop from the sky, get loot, a smaller area with closing ring, and the last man standing wins. You know, the standard. However, what made Apex so unique, at least for the time, was the little twists it had on the gameplay. For example, Apex had elements of a team-based hero shooter, with each hero having different unique abilities that altered gameplay and playstyles. With each squad having 3 players with 3 different heroes that added more team play than other Battle Royales. Instead of having a huge map with 100 players, there was instead a smaller map with 60 players. It was the first Battle Royale game to do a respawning system extremely well. Movement in Apex, like its sister game Titanfall 2, is extremely fluid and extremely satisfying just to move around. The time to kill is weird at first, but you get used to it, and the game is connected to the Titanfall universe, so for fans, this was a nice inclusion. The guns, like the movement, feel great to play with. The balancing for the most part is pretty good, and the game has 2 maps with a third one hopefully coming soon, which is rare for most free Battle Royales. The events are also pretty sweet. So in 2020, Apex in my opinion is generally pretty solid. However, Apex still has a problem from launch that is now only somewhat addressed, and that problem is a lack of queue features. Basically, the lack of a solos mode and the release of a duos mode a year after the game came out. Most Battle Royales, if not all Battle Royales, other than Apex, have those features. I know what people are going to say, and that the game is team-based or will split the player base too much and will increase queue times. Both of those points do have validity to them. However, the problem is that when a game or even Battle Royale focuses too much on squad-based gameplay, it leaves out a lot of people and starts to alienate parts of the player base who don't have a squad of friends on short notice and just want to play a couple of games without having to feel like they always have to commit to a team. Who doesn't want to play with a group of randos who may or may not cooperate with you? There's not even a no-fill option either, so say there were 2 players in a squad a year ago, you would still have to put up with a rando. Whereas in other Battle Royales, all you had to do is click a box and didn't have to worry. I'm happy now there is a duos mode, but did we really have to wait a year for this feature while other Battle Royale games literally had this right out of the gate? Now, do I think adding a solos mode to Apex would change anything now? Probably not. But I sincerely think if Apex had a solo, duos, trios, and a no-fill option at launch, it would have retained a bigger player base, but that ship has more or less sailed now. Hopefully crossplay will rejuvenate the player base, because right now, while the game isn't dead, the queue times are certainly longer than I would like to be. What about monetization though? It's a mix of several things, almost all of them cosmetic. Like loot boxes, special event loot boxes, battle passes, paid for skins, heroes, and heirlooms. I need to stress that even though it seems like a lot, it's not overbearing. If you don't want to spend a dime and want to get cool stuff, it's not impossible. Also, heroes are easily obtainable. You can get them just by playing the game normally. The progression in this game is overall pretty alright. I think in many ways, Respawn did a good job making Apex. The gameplay in the updates, at least in my opinion, is one of the best in the genre, and the only things that are holding it back are some of the queue options and crossplay for the time being. If you want to play a game that has more team-based elements, I'd recommend playing Apex, especially if, say, you're an Overwatch player or maybe even a Valorant player. With that being said, let's get into Modern Warfare. In my Modern Warfare review, I said I really liked Modern Warfare's multiplayer and its story. So how does Warzone stack up with the rest of the game and its competitors in the genre? Well, I think even if Warzone isn't the most innovative battle royale, I do think it's a perfect amalgamation of everything that makes the genre super fun and super exciting to play. It's exactly what I expect from a top publisher when it comes to a AAA battle royale, and it's the only battle royale to make a dent in Fortnite's viewer base on Twitch for more than just a month. In fact, people even go as far as to say Warzone actually carries Modern Warfare, which is something that I can't necessarily disagree with. The game looks fantastic, the time to kill is just right, the introduction of a gulag where you fight for a second chance after you die is brilliant. The fact you can have your preferred custom loadout from multiplayer for a care package is just so smart. Crossplay is there, which is always a bonus point for me, and the game can have up to 150 to 200 players in a single match and still runs pretty well. I would honestly like the game a lot more and would recommend it to a lot more people if, 1, cheating wasn't there. I mean, apparently a lot of updates were supposedly cracking down on that, but I personally have had too many sus moments. 2, if it was better optimized for PCs, because for some people it runs extremely well, but for others that also have good PCs, it just does not work at all. And 3, if it wasn't 200 gigabytes on PC, which is ludicrous. I didn't mention it in my Modern Warfare review, which I really should have, but Modern Warfare is just way too big. The patches and updates for the game could range from 10 to 40 gigabytes, and that's like entire games. At least on console, if you just want to play Warzone, you can just download that single mode now, but on PC, you have to download the entire game, which is again, 200 gigabytes. Other than that, Warzone is a very good battle royale. It somehow perfectly transferred that fast-paced COD energy from multiplayer and made it into a battle royale. The map design is also very good, but that's probably because a lot of landmarks or locations in this map are just ripped straight from multiplayer, which works well and just contributes to that fast-paced gameplay loop. The map is really big, so it can handle up to 50 to 100 extra players, and the game's pacing is also usually pretty good. Vehicles are also there if you're worried about that, and as hinted at earlier, respawning in this game is in my opinion designed super well. It perfectly balances not playing too much and not playing enough, so the game does not get boring if you die at the very beginning and you can't come back like, say, PUBG. As said earlier, you can fight in a 1v1 gulag for a second chance, or your team can save up and pay for your return. You can also buy abilities or supplies at buy stations around the map. Speaking of buying things, what about the monetization? After all, this is a free-to-play battle royale, and to that I say, I've already talked about this in my Modern Warfare review, but for summary, it's fine but not great. It's a battle pass and store system, but my friends who play the game a lot say that the battle pass can be extremely grindy. But that's all I really have to say about Warzone. It's a pretty good battle royale, and if you want to play a realistic game like PUBG, but you want it for free and you want to have some of those COD mechanics in there, then I would have to 100% recommend it. Disclaimer before I get into my HyperScape review. I was kind of stupid and did not record any gameplay before the beta went away, and at the current time of recording and editing this, it won't be out until like a week. And I kind of want to get this video out in less than that. So some footage will be used from the trailer and some will be just from other Battle Royale games. However, a lot of the things I'm going to say will still kind of apply. HyperScape is the newest Battle Royale on the market and is published by Ubisoft. The game is still in open beta, so keep in mind everything you see here is subject to change in the future. I think the most jarring thing about HyperScape is its aesthetic and its setting. It feels like a weird fake video game movie you would see in those 90s to early 2000s movies, but actually playable. And the gameplay itself also reflects that time period with its arena shooter type gameplay, and because of that, I can't really recommend this to everyone. Because it is very much hard to play, hard to master. Aiming in this game does get a little bit hard to get used to, and even though there are some guns that do throw you a bone, like, the D-tap, I can't say this game could compete with the likes of Warzone or Fortnite, but I do have to commend Ubisoft on making a very unique game in Battle Royale. One of my favorite things about this Battle Royale is in fact the movement and its different power-ups or abilities. Because this game is set in a video game world and not a realistic setting, the devs just embrace the absurdity of it. Well, you have the standard power-ups or hacks, like you can turn invincible or invisible or teleport. You have stuff like turning into a giant bouncy ball. You can place giant walls, you can slam super high. Plus, audiences on Twitch can also have an effect on this game as well, like voting on giving everyone an extra jump, having low gravity, revealing people nearby, spawning health packs, or spawning supply crates around the map. And speaking of the map, instead of there being like a ring that closes in certain parts of the city, instead, it disintegrates into different like blocks. Plus, if you don't want to fight at all, it's completely possible to win a pacifist run just by dodging and holding something called the crown at the end of the game, and if you hold it for 45 seconds, you actually win. I swear, in this game, half the fun is just playing this like Mirror's Edge and just be really good at losing people. But if you do want to fight, upgrading guns and abilities is as simple as finding duplicates around the map. And if you die, instead of downing like in other games, you turn into a ghost and have to revive at an enemy grave. The pure creativity in this game is just insane, but there are some things I want to reiterate on and point out. Because movement is so fast in this game, it's hard to actually hit people, and some of the weapon balance is somewhat questionable. For example, the sniper is near hit scan and can one-shot people from any range. And I know I just said that hitting people in this game can be hard, but I do think it should be toned down a bit. Maybe add a little bit more bullet drop, like in other BRs, or maybe decrease the projectile speed. The Hexfire is also way too good because it's an LMG without recoil, and so it can output way too much damage, and while this isn't a point against HyperScape, it's sort of like Apex, where if you come from a game like Warzone or Fortnite, the time to kill can get really weird to get used to. And finally, this game is in beta, so monetization is a little bit weird. The Battle Pass is free, and there's a store with their own paid-for currency. Other than that, I don't really have much to say. I want this game to be in VR though. I don't know how that would work, but I really want it. Overall, HyperScape is a good game. It's hard to kind of get used to at first, but if you really want an arena shooter battle royale, it's right there. Also, Ubisoft, put HyperScape on Steam. I know that revenue cut is a little bit, it's a little bit terrible, but just do it, alright? You're not going to regret it. An honorable mention before I get into the tier list. That honorable mention is Spellbreak. It's pretty fun, it's pretty good, but I haven't played enough of it to truly feel like I can give a good, nuanced review of it. Alright, let's finish this off, and let's go to the tier list. Hey, Paul, I'm happy that you stayed long enough for the tier list section of this video. So right now we're going to be rating all of the Battle Royales that I just reviewed, kind of C tier all the way up to S tier. Basically, I think I'm going to start off with PUBG over at C tier. And the reason for that is because I feel like even though PUBG is sort of like the father of the Battle Royale genre, I feel like it's sort of at the point now that everything that PUBG has done up until this point has been done better elsewhere, right? Really, the only thing I can really see that really has a leg up on against like the free battle royales is that it has more like maybe content in terms of maps. Other than that, I don't really know. Like, there's aim and recoil, but I know in my opinion that doesn't really make it, any better in my opinion. I don't know. So the next battle royale I'm going to rate is going to be Fortnite right here, and I'm going to put it in B tier, maybe up to A tier. Fortnite really helped popularize the genre, right? And it also did like a lot of things for the industry as well. However, it's like gameplay wise, I'm not really a big fan of it. I'm not really a big fan of building, and I'm more of an aimer myself, so I think it's B. Actually, I'll put it maybe at A tier, maybe like lower A tier, right? It's very good. It's kind of like the McDonald's of the Battle Royale genre. Updated frequently, very popular. I would maybe recommend it if you're a newer person to gaming and you want to see what the hype's about. I think the next one, though, if there hasn't already been any controversy, I think Apex. Yeah, Apex is going to be top of A tier. I just like the movement. The guns are just really good. It has multiple maps, which I said earlier is very rare for free battle royales. I love like the different like hero abilities, like the hero-based, section of it. It's really, really fun. It's really, really nice. I like the fact that they're trying to expand like the Titanfall universe, but through that game as well. I just like the fact that they're really just trying to make it into like a story and lore-driven game at points, like the newest season. Overall, I just think that it's really, really good. And, however, though, I think HyperScape is going to be at B tier, and let me explain. HyperScape is a pretty alright game, but the thing is the game hasn't really released yet, or at least when I'm recording it, and it's really fun, right? It's really, really fun. But I really do think the time to kill is a little too high at points, or yeah, it takes too long to kill people. I do like the movement. I do like it's kind of like an arena shooter. It's very, very fun in that way. I like the fact that Ubisoft tried something new. Apparently they're going to be adding in new maps and stuff with it. I would maybe recommend it. It's free. Like, everything on this tier list is free other than PUBG. I'd recommend it if it looks like it's something that you're into. But it's going to be very, very niche. More niche than Apex. And then we have this one right here. Wait a second, did I just do that out of order? Okay, whatever, man. Call of Duty Warzone. Where does it go? Where does it go? I think it's going to be up at S tier. Right? If okay. Fortnite's kind of like the McDonald's, right? But Warzone is also kind of like the McDonald's. It's Call of Duty, but it's done really well. It's probably like the shortest battle royale I've reviewed because it's not really the most unique in terms of gameplay, but it just in the sheer execution of it, it is really, really good. If you would probably have to ask me, hey, Paul, like, I want to play Battle Royales. What do you think is the best Battle Royale right now? This is Warzone, right? Warzone is probably the best. If you're into COD, if you're into shooters and stuff, Warzone's going to be really fun. Basically, all of the big streamers play it. I like the Gulag system, right? 1v1s to get back in. I like the vehicles. I love the gunplay. I loved Modern Warfare's multiplayer, and I think this is just a Battle Royale version of it. It is really, really good. With that being said, I think I kind of just covered all my bases right now. Like I said, in the description, there will also be this tier list maker. So go ahead and send me your list as well. Maybe in the comments. Maybe you can like tweet at me or whatever. I don't really care, right? But I kind of want to see other people's opinion on this. Anyways, thanks for watching.